future-proof. Maybe you feel you know you are meant to do more, have more to contribute as a lasting legacy, want to be better recognized for who you are and what you do. Make sure you are relevant in a new global and virtual marketplace. Just need some help figuring who you want to be and how to get there. Well, to be future-proof means that you have the ability to continue to be of value into the distant future. Because when it comes to making a living, the world we live in requires you to continuously, consciously, dynamically adapt. And so, as we start the panel discussion, I ask you, how are you daring greatly? Wow, it's great to see you guys finally on this stage. So when we're talking about the topic, I was seated at your beautiful offices, and I asked you, and I told you the topic, and you told me, I love that topic. What did you tell me was behind me and why this topic spoke to you?
My beautiful office is actually outdoors. We're sitting in a garden, which we need to do more often. If you look at a seed that's put in the ground, it has to break through, the seedling comes through the earth, has to be nurtured, etc., etc. But if you look at nature, it adapts, right? And it's able to continue growing. All it needs, it takes from the atmosphere. We did science, but we don't even understand what is in the atmosphere. Or when you just put water, and these plants then survive, but they also thrive, they even flower. A lot of us, when taken outside our comfort zone, we are afraid we will not survive nor thrive. It's not good enough to survive. You need to thrive. So a lot of people say, but how come you do this, yet you studied that? And it's a box that we put ourselves in. Learn every day. I'm an expert of so many things. So today somebody called and said they need something for an event. She's like, oh, do you do this? And I said, absolutely I do. Tomorrow I'm in the internet, learning that thing. I can assure you the outcome will be superior. We're not good enough, and maybe it's confidence or our education system or our society that says, but you don't know because you didn't study it. But that's not true. You can learn it. You should continuously learn. And if you also just like it, do it. You don't have to have a degree to say you can do it. Be like a plant. Thrive, don't survive. And know that leaves will fall off. They'll wilt, but they will grow again. Don't be afraid to wither. Sometimes you become fertilizer once you've withered. And when you become fertilizer, you'll fertilize something else, and there will be new growth again. That's agility.
The reason I know Dr. Kipngetich is that he was the Dean of Students at University of Nairobi, and I met him there. Question is, you're seeing these beautiful women in this room. They want to be sitting on boards, they want to do more. What kind of skills would you advocate for every woman to have?
Okay, thank you very much, Marianne, and well done for organizing this forum. The first thing that everybody faces as a challenge is fear. Do you know, for example, that we are out of Kenya's population of 50 million, only 2% have gone to university. I guess the 100 of you in this room have all been. We belong to the 2% segment. So how can you fear to stand out and say, oh, I'm a graduate, I'm like a small person? A small person where? You belong to an elite already. Now, so you are top cream of the country. Now, if the top cream of the country walk around with fear, what of somebody who reached standard 7? He will disappear from the planet. The second thing is feeling inadequate largely around knowledge. Now, this is where probably where the fear may emanate from. A lot of people, the last thing they have to have read are things they did in university or college. So, over time, people become functionally illiterate. That means you have not even kept pace with what is going on. That is why your side something, I don't want to say that other word. Your side business is largely coming from observation. Observation is processed because you have a hard disk in your brain which you are feeding knowledge to. Then it processes and says, this is where opportunity is. That's why two people can look at the same thing. One sees opportunity, another one sees nothing. So when you go to an organization, make sure you network, open your mind, okay? Have that flexibility, and most of all, increase your knowledge. Have a curious mind. Be very curious. Get to know why things work, they do. Why are other people boards and you are outside? Yet probably you are more knowledgeable.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kipngetich. We have Dr. Herta von Steigel. You have been the chair of the Women on Boards in Kenya. First of all, how did you get to Kenya? And how can we sit on boards? Thanks.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here tonight. It is so wonderful to see so many of you here tonight, men and women alike. Some of you have heard me say this, but I genuinely believe this from the bottom of my heart. It takes enlightened men and brave women to change the world. You know, one of the things we don't talk about very often is actually the difference between how men and women react to danger and crisis. The reality is women are 10 times more fearful than men. And this is for all sorts of reasons. We are fearful inside the house, we are fearful outside the house, we are incredibly strong mentally, but physically we are smaller. And because physically we are smaller, that affects how we think. And so our first reaction is fear, we submit, and only when we finally have everything, we run away. So I think there is, first of all, a recognition that we have so much going for us, but we are starting from the back. and I think if we acknowledge that we are starting from a position of fearfulness, that we can overcome, but we need to be incredibly intentional about it. And the reason why I have invested so much in women's networks, to your question, is because I really believe that this world will not survive if women don't step up to the plate and lead. I really think one of the reasons, I mean, all of us who have gotten to a certain point, we have had breaks in our lives. Let's face it, I don't think anybody who is honest would say, I came here all by myself. I can look at my life and I can look at the breaks that I had in my life that were God sent. I'm unapologetically a woman of faith. I can see the differences in my life. And so getting to this point has been really a collection of things. But it's a journey. And I think anyone who aspires to leadership, anyone who aspires to serve on boards, it's a tremendous privilege. Networking is critical because at the end of the day, somebody has to say, Marianne can do that job. Julius can do that job. Somebody has to vouch for you. And in this country, if we want to see more women on boards, President Uhuru Kenyatta needs to know about you. And you need to be on that list. Otherwise, you won't make it. So that's the networking. So let me stop here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's give her a hand for applause. Next is agility. And so when I did my research, they say there are different types of agilities: learning agility, growth agility, neuroscience agility. I was like, it's good to research back to knowledge. But that's the theory of it all. If I was to ask you to pick one agility, Ciru, we have growth, we have learning, we have neuro-emotional, we have stakeholder, we have trust. We may even have a sixth. What agility would you pick off the bat?
I would pick stakeholder agility. It's interesting, the conversation around women on boards. It's not just so you can sit on a board as a woman. For me, I look at it the other way. What will you do when you sit on that board? I don't applaud women just because they sit on boards. If you're just gonna sit there to say you're a woman on a board and you're not benefiting the organization, but more importantly, if you're not benefiting your country, then there's no point to sit on a board anywhere. We train to sit on boards of companies. Why not of our country? So stakeholder for me is internal customer, external customer. The external being the people of my country. If I cannot relate with them, I cannot be agile to grow my country with them. So it's not good enough to just be rising and sitting in pretty stages. We need to be bringing everybody with us. So it shouldn't be a boardroom. We should be in a field. And let's be agile for all the stakeholders, because otherwise there's no point.
Dr. what's your pick?
I think mine is fairly obvious, learning. First of all, never underestimate your capacity to learn new things. God has given you a brain which is, there is no other machine yet invented that is better than it. So your agility to learn, but it begins with curiosity. Learning is what you tell the mind to pick from your environment. Me, I'm very curious. Within a few minutes, I always try to figure out what my environment is like. When I go to an organization, within 2 weeks, I know what that organization does, okay, and I master it. And if somebody wants to cheat me about it, I'll tell them, no, I know what it does. So, learning agility.
I really had to think about this because they are all important, and it really is mind over matter. And so when I looked at that list, I think it's neuro-emotional agility for me. And why? Because really the mind is stronger than the body. I think it's being agile emotionally, it's being agile really in your brain, if you will, because you touched on this in your introductory speech. If we want to be able to be effective in the future, we have to start thinking differently. So we've had to adapt in amazing, amazing ways, and I think it's that emotional agility to keep going in the face of tremendous tragedy, to keep going in the face of when you can't attend your relative's funeral, when you can't go and see your family, to be intellectually, emotionally agile and make sure that you thrive even in the face of those circumstances.
Why is it important to be vulnerable in any case? And how do we fear set? And this one I'd like to start with you, Dr. Kipngetich.
Okay, I think, let me just emphasize that point, because I sit in many boards and the women in those boards want to be like men. If you want to be like men, so what's the use of us bringing you on board? Please, just be yourself. And that's why we are here to talk about being authentic. Because you are female, be female, okay? But we are looking for perspectives from a female mind. So don't come there to be another or to be a prima donna. We want that brain who sees things different from a man. And that is why we are talking about a balance. And if we can have even a balance of 50-50, well and good. You know, remember competitiveness now in organizations or in industries comes from very narrow spaces. You know, if you look at data science and the way companies are crunching data, they find that competitiveness comes from a very simple idea. That is why when you're in a board, being authentic means you are different from the others. They look at that perspective. And it's that single perspective that you have that could give that company the competitiveness they were looking for.
Herta, even before I ask you anything else, please do.
I am rearing to go. Most of us as women, particularly as we have been climbing the corporate ladder, how many here have gone to fixing exercises? We need to fix the women. The women need to be stronger. The women should not cry. The women cannot be emotional. We have been basically told all our lives, if you want to climb the corporate ladder, you need to do it the man's way, right? So we actually come with that baggage. And I think we all, in order to be authentic, we must have aha moments. At least that's true for me. I would just encourage each one of you, embrace who you are. You are unique, you are amazing. Each one of us is really, truly, truly remarkable. That doesn't mean we should be arrogant and shout it from the rooftops. That's not the point. It's actually confident humility and embracing every aspect of who we are. And to me, that's the essence of authenticity.
What is that? What does it take to be an authentic leader?
Embrace your past. So we need to understand our role in society, as African women. If you don't, and unfortunately we see it, right? So whether you'll sit on a board, whatever position you'll be in, if you're not secure in who we are, as an African people, even if you're given a position and a seat, you'll still be flaky. You will not be authentic. Let's not judge each other for being African. We wear stuff that pinches us because we feel that's the image we should have. Somebody told this to us. Until you go back and say, this is who I am. Look in the mirror, challenge each other, respect what we do. Be authentic enough to acknowledge where we've come from historically. Yes, we know what happened, but without going back and packing, as painful as it may be. I don't dress like this because it's cool. I dress like this because it's me. I am Wanjiro. I don't have another name. In primary school, I used to use the name Catherine. Because of peer pressure, I'm not Catherine. My children have Kikuyu names because that's who they are. I am also not Kenyan. I'm African. Somebody put borders. There's no difference between us, the Ugandans. So don't look at yourself as Kenyans also. Dig deeper. Remember all of us, the migration, if you trace back, all of us are from somewhere else and we are all a blend. When you're free with the authentic self, then we will actually make an impact in the organizations, in the country, and more importantly, in Africa. Let us not pretend. I keep saying suddenly we're earning 100,000 and above. We forgot that we took matatus. Our car now has tint air conditioning. Why are we ashamed of where we have come from? Let's not do that. Let's be authentic enough to say, I'll go back and still sit on the board of the school I went to because I deal with children's furniture and I cry. They sit on the floor, yet all of you here do not go back to buy furniture for those schools. What happens? You want to sit on a company's board? That is not right. Let's go back, fix, and then we deserve to to be at those places.
Thank you very much. So, thank you, ladies, because you've been sending lots of questions. I was trying to see how to curate them. And they were actually specific. They actually written to your name, so it is really exciting in that regard. So I'll start with Dr. Herta. There are two questions for you, and I think you can combine them into one. One is around, and I hate the word work-life balance. Anyone who knows me knows I hate that word. So I prefer work-life balance, life integration, but I can't wait to hear your take on it. And you're so successful. You have a successful husband. How do you manage that dynamic at home?
First of all, I'm completely with you, Marianne. I do not like the phrase work-life balance, because last time I checked, at work, we should be alive, right? The balance is not between work and life. The balance is to be really even keel in every respect of my life. Intellectually, emotionally, physically, in every aspect, because you can be incredibly successful at work and be a complete zero in your personal interactions and so forth. My caution to myself has always been, let me not excel in one aspect of my life, for example, my career, at the expense of my relationships, at the expense of my family, at the expense of my friends, at the expense of being curious and looking at that side, what did you call it, the side hustle? I guess I can say that. I mean, my husband and I have been married for 15,560 days or something like that. And it's basically, my husband is secure enough in his own right. He's super, super well educated. He's Mensa level IQ, but he doesn't have to prove anything. And he celebrates my successes as if they were his. I mean, there is a sense of unity and camaraderie. So ladies, marry well.
Yes.
Marry someone who celebrates your successes and where, you know, there is a genuine sense of you are precious and you are unique, and let's celebrate who you are together.
Ciru, are there spaces where women in business can congregate and support each other?
Being a woman in business is exceptionally lonely. Exceptionally lonely. So there would be spaces, and I know there's some coming up now, right? Why I say it's lonely is the yardstick that's used to judge us makes you retreat, okay? You're up against, from our special government, whether it's the tax man, the permits and everything, to then the wonderful corporates in this room who we then work with, and they decide they'll pay you after 3 months. You're wounded. You're literally that image of a duck, the feet underneath, swimming so hard, and every day you have to put on a brave face and smile. And people say, oh, it's passion. Please do not quit what you do for passion. You will die. Passion does not pay bills. Women need to be in business to make a difference, not because of passion. So you find when you're then a group of you, you can tell those who think it's because of passion or a side hustle. That's the worst thing to do. So those of us who are genuinely in business to make a difference find it exceptionally lonely. So those of you in the corporate space, it's not a begging, it's not a plea, but come and intern with us. Come and work with us for a week. Come and see the challenges so that you are in a privileged seat when we're concerned, because you're my customer, so to speak. When you then sit on those boards and you don't then work to have SMEs as part of your supply chain, then we believe you're a fraud. If a woman on a board and we know you, yet we don't see you getting women to supply you, not out of pity because they're women, but because they have good products, then what's the point? I can give you 10 women's businesses, take a sabbatical from your office, come intern with us for 1 week. So you'll understand why we don't respond to emails on time, where we may have made a mistake with the order, why there was no power. Just come on the other side, and then you'll understand. And I keep repeating, we must sit on the board of this country together.
I would love to hear your parting shots on this topic of adaptability, agility, and authenticity. And we could start with you, Herta.
Of the three, adaptability, agility, authenticity, I think they are equally important. They are equally important for us to be human and for us to thrive in an ever-changing world. Be brave and make the difference for your country, for your school, for your community, and let's be brave together and encourage each other.
You want success for everybody, and so therefore you must give space for that success to happen. We must build unions of friends. Okay, the minute you are not in a union of friends, you are in a danger point. And you are unlikely to grow and maximize your potential. Usually the substance of who we are doesn't change. It is the form of who we are that changes. Technology changes the form, but the substance of who we are as human beings remains the same. So let's not be confused by a lot of the form in life is changing, but the substance of who we are as human beings hardly changes. So when we talk about adaptability, whether we talk about agility, whether we talk about authenticity, think of what stays the same and what changes. And then now, as the world changes, you change with it, but also make sure there are certain things that don't change. Your values, okay, never change. It's the same. Even so, be careful that when you go to a board or your workplace or your family, always say, what is it that makes me a good human being? Utu.
Know yourself. Yourself. Be honest with yourself. This balance, whether marriage, children, business, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay. And love who you are, but also know your strengths and play to your strengths, because there's only one you. And allow each other to be authentic in the way you know how. Not Marianne, not me. Your best version of you. That's my takeout for today.
I think these panelists have done a fantastic job. Let's give them a bigger hand.